very strong competitive advantage. So what does this actually look like? I think this slide is one of the most illustrative, as it shows you some of the key business disciplines across each of these four foundational core experience areas. So today, while we're going to be focusing predominantly on customer experience, as Keystart continues to grow and scale and bring on board more customers, I imagine there's going to be interest and value in exploring some of the other experience pillars. So while you might be looking at reporting, dashboarding from a CX perspective, and being able to follow up, close the loop through case management, which is what we'll be discussing today. Equally, imagine the marketing team who looks after brand management will be interested in understanding a little bit about your brand equity in the market and potentially conduct some brand strategy research. Likewise, the product team might look at concept testing, user experience even, which does, as I'll illustrate in the demo, overlap with customer experience. So some of our customers that currently adopt the XM Vision, as I've shown you before, but here are some of them within these four key pillars. And again, they're by no means mutually exclusive. So if you look at an organization like ANZ Bank, they've actually adopted Qualtrics across all four key experience pillars. So they've actually conducted a program where they're able to link employee engagement and satisfaction that they're having in the workplace with the customer experience measures. So the beauty of Qualtrics is the ability to have both your X and O data working together. So while we help organizations collect X data, we've got a number of integrations, some out of the box, as you can see on the right-hand side there, with the likes of Salesforce, Google Analytics, Tableau and Workday, and even Marketo, to bring the operational data that you're working with into contact with your X data. What this might look like is, for instance, bringing some of your customer satisfaction metrics into Salesforce, being able to trigger surveys and trigger actions out of Salesforce. So you've still got that single source of truth for all data, but you're operationally, you're still working out of your fundamental CRM system. You might also bring, HR employee data and financial data from Workday, and get that to interact with some of the employee experience data that you're collecting through Qualtrics. So this slide's essentially a continuation of the last one, but it's a good illustration of the different applications and how that sits on top of some of the disciplines and tasks that you might want to complete. You might want to be able to fulfill, as part of a customer experience program, for instance. So as I said before, the methodology is very much the ability to be able to collect and converse first up. So a channel to be able to distribute surveys and feedback questions to your audience, whether it's your customers or your market or your employees. The ability to then be able to analyze this data through things like statistical analysis, be able to conduct benchmarking, visualize it in role-based dashboards so that only the data that's relevant to certain job functions or departments can be seen. And then most importantly, be able to act on that data. So be able to close the loop, be able to conduct some action planning, be able to create automated actions so that human error doesn't come into play. The other layer that we've recently added to the XM platform is what we've called Qualtrics IQ. So there's three kind of fundamental pieces to Qualtrics IQ. The first of which is driver IQ. So this is the ability to understand some of the key drivers of behavior that's happening in your organization. So again, going back to the differences between O data and X data, you might want to be able to understand, for instance, what are some of the most high impact areas that you can address to improve a metric like NPS? Is it the contact center? Is it potentially your product? Is it that first interaction? Is it your website? Text IQ is our text analysis tool, which allows you to be able to digest a large volume of responses from, say, open-ended text entry questions. So this, again, takes the reading of verbatims out of the equation and provides you with the opportunity through machine learning to be able to categorize responses and act upon them in the most relevant fashion, and saving you a lot of time in the process. Finally, Stats IQ is our advanced statistical analysis tool, which allows most users the Qualtrics platform, regardless of their background or training in statistical analysis. So they don't have to be an SPSS expert by any means, or even a stats guru for Excel, but it allows what Stats IQ does is picks the right analytical test for the form of data that you want to do, whether it's understanding relationships between variables, or through regression, actually controlling for various variables and running them across thousands of data points. And finally, from the power of IQ, what can be returned to you are reports and flexible dashboards that gives everyone in the organizations the tools that they need to make an impact on experience. So whether it's your leadership team or your CX team, your marketing or HR team, as I said, Qualtrics' dashboarding capabilities can help you visualize all of this data that you collected and the interaction between X and O data. Finally, you can get more clarity on where you can focus your efforts. You'll see the impact of any investments before you make them. So you can make sure that you're directing your energy and budgets into the things that will move the needle on experience rather than things with minimal impact. So again, that kind of gets back to the driver IQ piece that I was discussing before. What I've got now is a couple of key customer stories in the banking space, particularly around CX and VOC. I'll share this deck with you afterwards, but just very quickly wanted to talk through one of our case studies here, which is Adelaide and Bendigo and Adelaide Bank. Who essentially before Qualtrics, they were really struggling with the volume and granularity of customer feedback, and didn't have the ability to automate any actions in their voice of customer program to the degree that they required. So there were a lot of kind of major blockages in the operational funnel, but through a VOC program devised through Qualtrics XM, they've now been able to distill that into 5 key customer interactions and been able to improve the experience at various touch points and create a best of breed program. Again, I'm sure everyone wants to get through to the demo, so I'll share these with you following this session. But lastly, I wanted to touch on Qualtrics' service and support model. So traditionally, vendors in this space have been very dependent on services, and what this creates is a reliance on them for any small changes that you want to make. Qualtrics provides you with a flexible model, so everything from 100% self-service to a managed service. So what that means is the ability to make changes within the platform through a very user-friendly interface, or if you require a bit more help, whether it's through our research services team, implementation team, or even professional services for custom integrations. That's certainly something we can provide. But the idea is to put the power in your hands as the end user. And also, compared to a lot of traditional vendors, this really reduces the overall cost of ownership over time. So as I alluded to before, these are some of the key kind of touch points that we can provide at Qualtrics in terms of supporting your experience as a Qualtrics customer. Finally, before we move on to the demo, I wanted to touch on some of the key issues that have come out through previous discussions with Keystart. So what I understand is that at the moment, there are no current systems or tech-driven methodologies for capturing, analyzing, or actioning X data. How we can help with that is hopefully